Number one, an editor. Number two, a book designer. You can come up with your own. There's so many different ways you can actually. It's so much easier. It's easier than ever to actually just come up with your own sort of ideas and design. But definitely work with someone that's their job. Because you can have great content and have a great editor, but you don't have a great cover, then it's going to be a lot harder to get that traction.
Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Create Your Life. I am your host, Simone Leah. So I just wanted to let you guys know that today's interview is actually an interview that I recorded about a year ago when I ran an online event called the Soul-Led Entrepreneurs Summit. It was a really, really, really wonderful event. I had some beautiful, amazing speakers talking about things like connecting with your intuition and how you can use that in your business, how to do Facebook advertising, how to do marketing as a soul-led entrepreneur, all of these cool things to do with business, entrepreneurship, and actually also spirituality and connecting within. And so these interviews were so wonderful that I really wanted to be able to share them with you now. So if when you're watching this, you see or hear the word soul-led entrepreneurs, this is still the Create Your Life show, but these interviews were just too good for me to keep to myself any longer. So I really, really, really hope you guys enjoy this interview, and I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Hey guys, I'm super excited to share this next interview with you. I got the absolute pleasure of interviewing a friend of mine, John Spenter, who I've known for more than 10 years now. We met years ago at personal development courses held by T. Harv Eker, things like Train the Trainer, and so we've kind of known each other, and we met all those years ago, and it was really lovely to connect with him and share his wisdom with you guys. So the reason why I'm interviewing John today is he is the person behind the book series A Journey of Riches, which has published more than 25 books, many of them being bestsellers. It's a collaborative series where he's interviewed more than 200 people from 40 different countries around the world. And I thought it'd be really great to share with you guys the experience and story of someone who's not only published one book, but they've actually published multiple books and now literally have a publishing company that does that. So John started out in life having a landscaping business and felt that there was more for him. And through a lot of growth and things like that, he started doing coaching and consulting, that sort of thing. And then that led him to writing his first book and turning around now, and had a chat with John. And as mentioned, he's published more than 25 books. He works with a lot of other people and other brands to get their books out, and then he's also in the process of filming a movie. So it's a really, really interesting chat with John, and I would have to say that probably the biggest takeaway from the whole interview is the reminder to just have fun, like to take time out of your week and not get too focused on business that you forget to have fun at various points. Hey guys, I'm here today with John Spender, who has the amazing book series, A Journey of Riches. How are you today, John?
I'm doing well. It's great to connect with you, Simone.
It's so lovely to connect with you too. Thank you for your time today.
You're welcome. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, so I wanted to have a talk to you because I know you're very connected within, and you make very conscious decisions when you're moving through life. So I thought it would be really great to hear for you how you go through moving through life and having a book publishing company, also having done a lot of consulting and a lot of things like that. And I thought it would be really interesting to hear your perspective for our audience today.
Awesome. Yeah, happy to share.
Nice. So, what does being a soul-aligned entrepreneur mean to you?
For me, I think it's a fantastic question, by the way. And for me, I first start let me just go back a little bit to give a bit of a context to this question. And so it'll make a little bit more sense for your listeners. I had a landscaping company for 11 years, and that was so soul aligned moving into that, starting that business for where I was back, we're talking more than 20 years ago now. probably maybe even 30 years. That was so aligned for where I was then, but we evolve and grow, right? And so I just knew there was just so many different telltale signs within me. You know, I wasn't as excited or enthusiastic to go to work, or to, run the business anymore. So I needed to make a change, and so I was looking for something else that lit me up. And then it was in that state of searching. Then I just found the alignment. It wasn't as like, oh, I need to sort of find the alignment. It was like, I know there's something else out there. Let me just do like a little bit of research or just put the feelers out. And I basically went into coaching. I went to this event. I actually thought the event was more about investing, but they had a program there that was about life coaching. It was a year-long program. I joined that program and I became a life coach. I sold my business later that year and just made a full commitment. I then moved to Bali. I think it was a couple of years later, 2 years later, to run NLP trainings, neuro-linguistic programming, for a US company that was based in Ubud. And so now I've been in Bali for ever since. So it's like, I didn't know the big picture of soul alignment when I began, but I just took the next step that felt right and true. And I think that so often when people maybe not sure of their purpose or where they're going, they're thinking, oh, well, I need to have everything mapped out and know where I'm going. I had no idea. And I had no idea that I would be, I mean, I had an idea that I wanted to be a coach when I heard this person speak. I had an idea that I wanted to become a trainer, and then led to this opportunity. But I didn't know that I would be in book publishing and what I'm doing now. It organically happened. And funny enough, I thought I'd never be doing this because I was early on in life, I was considered learning disabled, and I had to go through a number of different adversities. And so I didn't learn how to read and write at basic level till I was 10. And so I had to learn the basics from scratch. And now I'm in book publishing. I mean, go figure. But it just organically happened. And it was just saying, I guess it was just moving in the direction of more, moving into the direction of opportunity, and things just unfold and aligned. And I think that that's the soul alignment. It's like a glowing or expansion in your chest. And even though it's terrifying in a lot of the times because it means a bit of a risk, it means stepping into the unknown, but it's still that expansion that you're going to be okay, like a net will appear. But it is a leap of faith, nevertheless, a lot of times. And that's why I think a lot of people aren't soul aligned. It's because there's a tendency to want to control the outcome or things, or want to know what the next step's going to be. And so they just stay where it's safe. I know I'm not 100% happy, but I know the result. I know what's going to happen day to day and how things are, and I can budget and all the practical things and that as well. Whereas sometimes when you're going for the soul alignment, you have to take that leap of faith and just hope it works and hope it's a success. You pay the price first. Yeah. And that's a little bit of a challenge for a lot of people. And it's, you've got to take the chance. You've got to back yourself. Yeah. So that's what soul alignment is for me. I think it's something that we could talk so much about, because I know you've had a similar journey within yourself, and just saying that yes and taking a chance and getting outside of your comfort zone and all those sort of things. And so, yeah.
And what led you to go from coaching even to book publishing?
Well, I had an office in Sydney, so from 2010 to 2012. And then I got an opportunity to come over. So I was also trying out for different training companies. And so doing their trainings and so on and so forth. And I just was like their first reserve, or like I just fell short. And then an opportunity opened up in Bali. And so the contract was initially just for 3 months. And then I got an extension for another 3 months. and I just felt like I needed to do like my own thing. And it was like little signposts or little messages from the universe or from my environment that just sort of moved me in that direction. And it was like almost like a little light tap on the shoulder. It's almost like the difference between like a soul connection and then just like a mental ego connection.
Yeah.
The ego mental connection is obviously quite loud, and the soul connection is a little bit soft but firm, solid, grounded. And so it was just moving in that direction. So I hired a mentor, and she helped me move my coaching practice online. This was back in 2013. And so we were using Skype to run coaching sessions, and the internet wasn't so great here in Bali. I was living in the Uluwatu area. So I moved from Ubud to Uluwatu area, surfing every day, like great lifestyle, doing the calls online. She said, well, part of the program, it was like a 6-month program that we devised together. And she says, part of that, why don't you have a book with that as well? So it's like a bonus. So you get the coaching program and a book. She had no idea that previous 2 years, I had a whole journey of writing my first book. I spoke the first book, and I had a dictaphone stolen out of my truck. I typed up the next book, and I was just getting used to computers, and the computer crashed. I didn't save the file correctly. All these things happened. So I just put the book on the back burner. And yeah, she just brought it up. I was like, wow, okay. I never thought, I was like, okay, an anthology book. And so that's when the anthology series started. And I launched the first one at the end of 2015. And after that, the book was a success, and it's kind of like a whole nother story of that journey, because I had to learn everything from scratch, and I was getting different tips from friends, so on and so forth. And I just swore I'd never do another book, because it was so stressful. And, I was learning everything, and there was just a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of people had put their trust in me as well. And so, yeah, but people kept contacting me, and just a little bit of time had passed. And then I just started doing it. I did another one. We did 2 the following year, and then 4 the year after that. And then that's when I made the transition into book publishing. So that's actually the short version. So,
oh, I love
there was
it.
many different hurdles. So, but it was almost like that. Yeah, the way was showing. Even though I had some resistance to moving in that direction, especially initially, it just kept coming up. It kept coming up. It's like an idea that just wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same with the movie documentary that I've been working on it for the last 5 years, and we're so close to filming the live acting scenes, and it's featuring people like Jack Canfield, Dr. John DeMartini, Lisa Garr, Michael Bernard Beckwith, so many different thought leaders from around the world. But I traveled around the world filming these people, interviewing them. I was in Jack's home in Santa Barbara, California, and it was an amazing adventure. And now we're just at the stage where we're putting the live acting scenes together. And it was the same thing. Like there's no way I could make a film. But just the idea kept appearing. You meet someone, they're talking about a film or making a film. You just you can't escape it. And that's kind of like the soul just keep tapping you on the shoulder, or that the universal connection, or whatever your beliefs are, God, or whatever you want to call it. It's that intelligence that just keeps reminding you, hey, you meant to do this, you meant to do this.
Yeah. And how are you moving through if any little bits of resistance do show up to anything you're doing? Like obviously that first book was probably quite challenging, but you made it through that. And how did you get through those challenges?
I think time is really good to, and I was very much in the world of personal development. I have been immersed in that world since, I had an introduction in 2002, but very much immersed since 2010. That's kind of when I made a decision that, I'm going to commit to this. And so I've been immersed in that. I think having a really good daily practice and focusing on the things that you do have control over, so you don't give your power away, and worry too much about things that you can't do, and just taking action. And even if it's just little steps, but just taking little steps towards the goal that you want to reach, what it is that you want to manifest, but move in that direction. And I think that that's really helpful. So typical morning for me is, I start with breathing. So I do like priming, primarily through the nose. I say a whole bunch of affirmations and, different things that I'm wanting to be my reality that I'm moving towards. And so I say them as if it is the reality right now, getting into a state of gratitude. I read every morning as well. And I do yoga every morning. And so those things really do help. And I track and measure them as well. That's sort of the length that I go to and commitment that I go to make sure that, I keep myself on track, because a lot of times the mind can get in the way. And I can easily just sort of track and have a look. Oh, okay, I did that. So,
I actually do a lot of those things every morning myself.
Okay.
And I think that even though it's a little bit off topic, but I just want to touch on, how long would that morning routine take you? Like, do you think that someone could still have a lot of benefits if their morning routine was, say, only half an hour? Because I know a lot of people, when it comes to a massive morning routine, they're like, I don't have 2 hours. I've got to go and feed the kids and go to work. And
That's a
what's
great
your take
question.
there?
Yeah, so for the breathing, I do 11 minutes. So this is a whole nother story. I came up with this breathing. I actually got flown over to the US to teach this breathing technique, because I gave it away as part of a book launch. And then one of the other authors, clients bought it, and they got the free gift of this breathing thing that I used to just do myself. And then but it's 11 minutes. And I had the YouTube video I did like ages ago. I've adjusted the breathing a little bit, but it's just 11 minutes, so it's pretty short. I read for hour length. I normally do yoga for an hour. And so, and the reading, it all depends. So generally around about 20 minutes, but I just adjust it. Like this morning I did like 16 minutes of breathing. So it was just a little bit longer. I read for like 40 minutes. I did yoga for about 20 minutes. And I did a little bit of meditation. But I just adjust it to wherever I'm at. Like if I'm really busy morning, then, I'll just maybe do the breathing, don't do the reading, do a little bit of yoga, and then, go about the day.
Yeah. And do you also, congratulations on the movie, which is super exciting.
It feels really, it's finally going to be launched. A lot of people have been waiting very patiently, and so it's exciting to release it.
I can't wait to see it. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome. But have you found that, like, obviously when you first started writing the books, that was a completely new process for you, and now filming this movie is like a completely new process as well. Have you found that it's been different challenges that come up? And also, I know this is another question in the same question, but have you found that having a solid morning routine has helped you move through all the resistance and everything coming along? So just if we could even talk about those two separate things and how you've changed and grown.
Yeah, I mean, without a morning routine or having like a go-to practice that helps me go within and instills belief within myself, then I just wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
I think you have to have something that instills belief in you, or someone that's able to do that to you. Because if you're doing something you've never done before and learning a new skill, and you just, I started from scratch. And so I had no contacts or no nothing for the film at all. And so I just moved in that direction. So the first step was I was studying Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he wrote in there, I think it's one of the end chapters, about creating your own council. So he created like an imaginary council of people that he would talk to. And then sure enough, it was almost like it was real conversations. And so I did that. I created a vision board, and then I would speak to these different people that I wanted in the film. And basically it just became like telepathy. So there was that real. I was like, it was very natural to be in their presence. It was like I'd met them before as well. When I finally met, they said yes to the film, and I met someone that knew them, and so on and so forth. And so I had all these different synchronicities.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of times where, I think, especially when we're taking a chance on ourselves and we're doing something we've never done before, there's like an imposter syndrome. Imposter feels like, who are we to do this, or someone's going to find out, or at least that's the case for me anyway. And so I just moved through it. I just kept and just showing up, and moving towards it, and just saying yes, and refining the vision. But yeah, I still have moments of resistance, and I just be gentle with myself, and just take one little action step and underachieve. And so I might put on one of my go-tos is that I'll just tell myself, okay, just take some action in this task or the thing the next task that has to happen to make the movie work or the book work or whatever it is, and just work on it for half an hour with no judgment, and whatever you do is great. And then I'll just reward myself, or just some positive self-talk. I normally play Sonic Yogi, which is a lot of like chakra bowls that are aligned, like crystal bowls that are aligned with the chakras. So you've got one for the solar plexus, for the throat, the 7 chakras. And if I'm not feeling so grounded, then I might maybe play, and then generally go for about half an hour. And so when that finishes, but 9 times out of 10, I'm still going. I don't even realize the music's actually stopped, because there's that subtle sound, and it's just, that's been a real go-to for me. It's made a huge difference. When I've had so much resistance, like I don't even want to face it. I'll distract myself. I'm doing something else. All of a sudden, it's important to do the dishes when I know I should be doing this activity. And so I was like, you know what, just do this for half an hour. Play the bit of Sonic Yogi, so it creates that state. So you get in state to create, and then I just go for it. So almost like I bribe myself, just half an hour, see how you go. And but that's what I do and continue to do. That's my go-to strategy.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Just like, I'll just start the next thing, and then move forward.
Even for writing, I've got over 100,000 words published, and, in many different books now, and books by, I've collaborated with other different entrepreneurs and educators. And even when I'm writing a chapter, or I've just completed 2 manuscripts as well, I'm working through those. And just to get myself going, that's the strategy that I use. Because I have that resistance that just keeps coming up, whatever it may be. I don't sort of focus on too much. It's almost, I think Buddha used to tell this story that he was telling his followers or whatnot that, someone got hit in the arm with an arrow. And it's like, what's more important, where that arrow came from or the actual treating the wound? And so I feel it's much better just to, go on with the task at hand. Doesn't matter if it's a limiting belief or, something's holding me back, just give you more of that holding you back. Whereas like eventually you've got to move through it. So that's my strategy of just moving through it. I always have that resistance. I don't know if it's ever going to leave me. It's maybe not as intense as it used to be, but it's still there.
And it's not running the show.
And it's not running the show. 100%.
That's amazing. And so if someone did want to get into book publishing, how would they go about getting started with that?
For me, it just happened so organically, but that's such a big question because it's such a huge topic. I think that would be like a 12-week course or something to do it justice. But I think if you want to get into publishing books, then just break it down step by step. First of all, you want to register a business name. You want to get you clear on your branding and make sure it's aligned with your values and what you stand for. Then, who do you want to serve? Who's your ideal client? Who's your avatar? What sort of books do you want to publish? Is it higher consciousness books? Is it, Hay House just started with one book, and it was by Louise Hay back in, I don't, God knows when, but she was like 68. And now it's the largest publishing company for higher consciousness books, self-help books in the world.
Yeah.
She passed away about 4 or 5 years ago now. I got fortunate enough to meet her, but she just started with her own book. And then other people just said, oh, look, do you think you could help me with mine? And she loved, just spreading inspiration and positivity. And that's kind of like how I started. It was just very organic.
Yeah.
It was just this one project, and I just wanted to learn how to do it just to be cost effective. But you just need to break it down. If it's something that you like, I'm going to do this, I want it to be this big project, then, obviously then you want to register a business name. You want to then, like maybe start a Facebook group, start a blog. So let people know that you're there, get that visibility, right?
Yeah.
And then, you obviously want to have a team. So you want to have like editors and formatters and, I don't know why anyone would want to start a publishing business, but you're that way inclined. Maybe you're already in the industry and stuff like that, but it's a big thing. And just take it step by step, because you need a lot of different people. You need like a really good team. And just for me, it's just been trial and error. And, there was times where I didn't feel soul aligned because I was just doing way too much, and I needed to actually delegate and build a team around me. And so then I could actually focus on the things that, because we're constantly changing, evolving. So the things that, brought me aliveness and growth and learning and understanding, once you do that a whole bunch of times and you've nailed it, and you kind of mastered it, you just know it back and front, you can do it in your sleep, then obviously there's more levels of expansion, there's more things that you can do to grow and get better. And it's very important to actually then delegate those things that don't bring that excitement and aliveness, and and focus on other things that do within that niche. And that's what's been true for me anyhow. So, but it's a big elephant. If you're wanting to start a publishing company, maybe you start with a book first and just feel into it, and see if it's for you. And that's kind of like how it happened for me. And then people just kept asking me, it just kind of like, I just grew it organically. That's what sort of works for me. I just sort of fell into it. I think it would be a bit too terrifying if I sort of just mapped everything out and, okay, you just got to do this. And do it from like a very structured business, like let's go make it work. I don't think I could have operated that way for that project.
Yeah.
That was just sort of where I was at, but
So if someone did want to just start with their very first book and they were thinking about self-publishing that book, because maybe they're just at the beginning, and so they're thinking, all right, well, I'm just going to do as much of this book as I can. What would be, say, the 3 things that you definitely think that they should outsource to someone else? Like, what is the things that you really can't do yourself, do you think, if you're publishing your first book?
Editing, number one. You get a good editor. They're worth their weight in gold. Absolutely. There's not a step to skimp on. I've tried the cheap option and it was a nightmare. I just had to go with someone else because it just blew up. Number one, an editor. Number 2, a book designer. You can come up with your own. There's so many different ways you can actually. It's so much easier. It's easier than ever to actually just come up with your own sort of ideas and design. But definitely work with someone that's their job. Because you can have great content and have a great editor, but you don't have a great cover, then it's going to be a lot harder to get that traction. In terms, of publishing a book, there'll be definitely those 2 for sure. What else? And typesetting. I mean, unless you're that way inclined, to get the typesetting right, you can spend a lot of time, with a Word doc and then getting it into a PDF or then getting it into a EPUB file. And
Yeah.
yeah, definitely those three things. Yeah, typesetting, editing, typesetting, and book design.
Okay. So if someone was wanting to start a book then, would you say
Yeah.
that the very first thing for them is getting clear on the idea and writing the book? Because those three things can sort of come a little bit later.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, now as far as writing goes, yeah, I mean, there's structures to have in place. I've learned, especially if most people are going to write a memoir
Yeah.
or educational memoir or, a lead book for their business. It actually puts them as the go-to person in their field.
Mm.
So you want to map out your book, your content, and before you begin. Otherwise, yeah, it's almost like a presentation. You know what I mean? Like you don't go into a presentation and just sort of wing it. You have some preparation before you start. It's the same with a book because you can get like an inspiration. It takes you to like 5,000 words, but then the inspiration stops. It's like, where do I go next?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you want to like mind map it out, like the entire book. What are the various different chapters? What is it you're going to share? Why are you going to share that? What's in it for the reader? What are the key takeaway points, lessons, and that you want the reader to glean from your book? Who's the book for?
Yeah.
Those sort of things. What are the stories? The main content pieces that need to be in your book. What are the stories that are going to support that narrative?
Yeah.
What are the main points that you want to share and elicit? Where do you want the reader emotionally as they're going through your book? Getting super intentional before you even written a word, it's a huge mistake to skip that step. And yeah, getting intentional. So knowing what you're writing, why you're writing it, who's it for, what are the learnings, key takeaways you want the reader to get.
Yeah.
Make a huge difference. And then there's no such thing as really writer's block, or it's nowhere near as severe because you kind of already know the direction that you need to move towards.
Yeah.
And if you're taking action, little action steps, even if it's just half an hour a day or 10 minutes a day, it's in your consciousness, it's in your sphere of influence. So then your environment's going to reflect that back to you. So you're going to get ideas, or you're going to meet someone that has an idea, and and that's kind of, you get that momentum. And before you know it, once you've got that momentum, then the story starts writing you.
Yeah.
And that's the state where, it's just effortless, and it becomes really, really fun. You're just in it and you're looking forward to making it happen. And especially with writing, you really have to make the time. Having a designated writing space, having a designated writing start time, scheduling in for the week ahead, like getting super organized and making it a non-negotiable. That can be one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
And if you do the planning process before, then you're more tapped into the inspiration and the why of the book. If you know why you're doing the book and who's it going to serve, then it's a lot easier to get motivated and inspired to do it and to take that action step and to show up and to write even when you don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
Because you know what, I've heard people say, oh, wait till you feel inspired. For me, if I did, that might work for some people, but if I did that, I wait forever.
Yeah.
I would wait forever, seriously,
Yeah.
because always something else, it's still, initially I just had that resistance, and then it's just showing up, getting in front of the computer and just, making myself, having that, and having deadlines really help as well. So if you've got a deadline, and also people that are depending on you and having an expectation that it's going to be ready by a certain time, that can help sort of motivate as well. So inspiration and a little bit of fear to sort of push you up. Like I've got the date's looming and it's coming up, and there's people waiting. So a little bit of mixture of those, but definitely clarity is empowerment.
Yeah. And I love that you touched on timeframes, because I think especially in book writing, I know that there's a lot of people of like, I've been working on my manuscript for 6 years and I'm nearly finished, yeah. What would you speak to? Like, I very much have this belief that 98% perfect and done is better than waiting till you get to that 100%, because as you go through life and you evolve through life, there's always going to be ways you can improve things. So how would you sort of speak to someone who's like, my book's nearly there, it's nearly there, after 3 years it's nearly there? How would you sort of speak to actually deciding when is enough to be able to go, all right, let's put this out there?
Well, the first step is to have a first draft.
Yeah.
So have a first draft. And I mean, I think it's a very good point. That's an excellent point that you bring up. And it's progress over perfection.
Yeah.
Progress over perfection, because who decides something that's perfect? Perfection is a process of refinement. You refine into perfection. You just don't all of a sudden write a manuscript, oh, it's complete, stamp it, perfect. No one does that. Yes, there are different standards, and some people, natural writers, that more natural than others, but it's a process of refinement. I've never received a manuscript that didn't need editing, proofreading, the whole gamut. That's another thing. Like, editing and proofreading go hand in hand, because there's so many. We always read the same way, and so we always work with. We have a team of proofreaders that we work with, because it just irons out little errors.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's progress over perfection. Having a first, just working to a first draft. And I don't edit when I write. I don't edit as I write. I just write, allow it to flow out, and then say I've completed a chapter. Then I'll just go through, and I'll look at my blueprint. And okay, that aligns with my blueprint, the direction that I wanted to go. It hits all different points, the learnings and key takeaway points. Everything's aligned. Then I just sort of do some little refinement, how I feel it should go, my vision for that chapter. And you just keep doing that chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
And then at the end, then it's you hand it off to the editor, and it's a collaboration. So then the editor goes through it, and they ask point of clarification, give you points of improvement, and just go back and forth until you've got it to a level where, yeah, you know what, I'm happy to publish that.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should rush that process, but I don't think you should just, there's also, I mean, when you just, there's like some fear, and what you're doing actually isn't improving it at all. It's just delaying the launch of the book. So, yeah, I'm a big advocate of a lot of times, especially with the first draft of, you shoot first, then you aim, And I think we both learned that from trainings with T. Harv Eker, and it's just, yeah, and you just got to let go at some point. And then you go back and forth with a professional editor, make sure it gets proofread, get some feedback from people within your circle as well. If they're willing to be beta readers, sort of help refine points. And so it's the refining stage, and just getting people to have a look at it and just refining that. And yeah, it's ready, you just come to that point where it's like, what, I could keep going with this, but what's the point? It's kind of, if you over refine it, almost like it changes the message of the book. So if you're clear on the message, and everyone's saying, and your team giving you feedback that yes, this message lands, then it's ready to launch.
Yay. So once it's written, that's when it goes to the editorial. Is that when you would start looking at things like the cover and the formatting? And
yeah. So then once you go through the editing stage and we've gone through the proofreading stage, then it would go off for typesetting, formatting, that sort of thing. So for ebook and paperback. And yeah, then once you do that, and also you can be working on the cover as well. Yeah, the title, and going back and forth with that. And you can always change the the cover, refine it. So yeah. We do split testing as well. So we normally come up with a few different covers, or at least 2 different covers. And we'll ask people on, our followers on social media and email list, and just get people's, engage people. And promotion is a big part as well. And so making sure that you develop a nice community that have, are excited at the launch of your book as well. So you start building that up. I did a Hay House cruise with Louise Hay, Cheryl Richardson, Reed Tracy, who's the CEO of Hay House. And the one thing they all said throughout was to build your community.
Yeah.
The writing can be refined and your message can be refined and so forth, but you have to start creating your community. And that was the message. Create your tribe, create your community, people that are wanting to get the book. Because a lot of people, they focus on the book, but they don't want to worry about the community aspect of it. Then it's like, well, who's going to buy your book? The average book, maybe like a couple of 100 people will buy a copy, and so promotion is a big part as well. And starting, it's never too late to start building your own community, and people that's like, yep, I'll buy anything that you release,
So that sounds like it's probably one of the really important things that you'd kind of start at the start. If someone has no community, what sort of things would you say to start getting people engaged and involved?
Yeah, I would just start. I mean, it's free to have a social media account. Just let people know what you're doing. You can post on social media different quotes and things that are aligned with your values and what you're doing. And then people will just naturally align with you. And just start getting people engaged. And then you can start like a Facebook group. You can start a blog, your own blog, and just start sharing little snippets of what you're going to write about, and start building an email list.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's very exciting. It's really cool.
So as that process goes along, how do you keep and check in with yourself to make sure that you're still aligned with what you're doing?
Well, it's like, how do I feel like from a day to day? And so if I'm doing things and it's just like I'm getting irritated or getting negative thoughts, then maybe this is the task or activity that I shouldn't be doing this, and I should be moving towards other aspects of the business, and having I have that's how I do it. And I'm just like, I know I shouldn't. I had one of my staff was sick yesterday, so I had to do parts of her workload, and I was like, oh, I'm not feeling this anymore. And that's what she does it, and it's new and exciting. Well, I mean, something that she really does enjoy. She's been doing it for a while, but she really just enjoys it, Whereas, I enjoy it to a degree, but it's not. It's not why I get out of bed. It's not going to move. It's not going to help to serve greater numbers of people and help people get their books out into the world and their message heard. I need to be doing other things for that to happen. And so, but there's just these things, you just adjust. But that was, I just knew, because it was like I wasn't sort of feeling so alive, or it just felt more like a chore that was something that I had to do. So they're telltale signs for me. And I feel like, oh, it's a chore, I've got to do it, There's other days where, I don't always jump out of bed and go, yippee, we're publishing books, or, I'm writing a book, or, but there's just that alignment. I just know it's just more where I am at with my mood, rather than, it doesn't mean that I should change direction and, leave a project half finished. But we always have moods and things like that. But it's more like I still feel aligned that, I'm moving in the right direction. And when I do take action in that area, then all of a sudden, I feel great. you know, initially maybe I didn't feel like doing it, maybe I didn't feel like working, but once I did and got into it, then it actually gave me energy. And I think that that's the key difference. You know, whereas yesterday I felt like my energy was being drained away by doing the activity. Whereas when I know I'm so aligned, I may not feel like doing that, but once I'm doing the activity, then it actually gives me energy and I feel aligned.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's so amazing. I think that's so
yeah,
important for people to understand that, yeah, not every day you're going to be doing something that you love, but
yeah,
over time, you'll be able to make it so you're doing more of the things you love and outsourcing the
yeah,
things that you don't necessarily love.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the message. That's the takeaway for sure.
Yeah, and keep you moving in that way. I do have a
Yeah,
couple of other quick
yeah.
questions.
Okay, sure.
So, what is one thing that a soul aligned entrepreneur needs to know if they want to get into book publishing?
I need to know um, some marketing skills.
Okay.
Having some marketing skills will really help you.
Yeah.
Getting privy on marketing skills and what works and what doesn't work. You know, if you're going to have a publishing company, then there's an expectation that you're going to be able to get readers for authors, you know.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to have some marketing skills and be able to actually move books. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. If it was someone's very first book and they were just starting out, not
Yeah.
necessarily a publishing company, do you think that they would be able to do the marketing themselves if they took the time to do some learning and were happy to experiment or play? Or do you think that's something that should be outsourced?
It all depends. I think it depends on where you're at and where your business is at, and what, you know, how you are with time. Yeah, it all depends where you're at. I mean, yeah, if you have the budget, then yeah, like use, you know, go with people that are getting the result that you want already. Maybe if it's not within your budget, then yeah, just learn it as a new skill to learn, you know,
Yeah.
and take it from there. Yeah, self-publishing is, yeah, I think it's a go-to, and I think more and more authors are doing that because you have complete control of the book, and you can leverage it and redistribute the content and so on and so forth. And you have complete control. Whereas if you're going with a traditional publishing company, we help authors self-publish. That's primarily what we're doing. We're not a traditional model. We're more of a hybrid model. Whereas traditional publishing, they give you an advance for your manuscript, but they also dictate the terms. They have control of that manuscript. So essentially, you're selling the rights to that manuscript and they're buying the rights. They're taking a chance on you because they don't know if they're going to sell any copies or not. So they don't know if they're going to, I mean, you don't have to pay that money back, but you pay back with sales. So if they give you an advance of 5,000, then they'll take the first $5,000 worth of sales to get their money back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they don't, if you only get 2,000 worth of sales, then they say goodbye to the 3,000. So they're taking that chance.
Yeah.
And for that risk, they're buying the rights to your manuscript.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the short, long of it.
Yeah.
The condensed version of traditional publishing. Whereas self-publishing, you get the complete rights. You take the risk, and so yeah, your time, energy, and money that you've used to get the book out there, then that's completely on you.
Yeah.
But also the profits are completely yours as well. So there's no profit sharing at all. And so you get, I mean, maybe whatever platform, if you're using Amazon platform or iBooks or Smashword or Kobo, then those platforms will get a percentage of the book, but you get the rest. So and I think it's something like 30% to the platform and 70% to you. So it's it's pretty good, and yeah, and you've got control over the manuscript.
If someone is just starting out, would you recommend they do a digital copy, a print copy, and an audio copy?
We definitely print you definitely want to do at least a paperback and an ebook. Maybe you want to do an audiobook. Audiobooks are moving and shaking in terms of like, yeah, there's a lot more people buying audiobooks than say 10 years ago. It's still I don't think they're outperforming ebooks, maybe paperbacks. I'm not sure, but ebooks definitely not, but it's definitely growing. So it all depends on what your budget is. And so, but at least an ebook and a paperback, and it's very easy to do. I mean, unless it's a very small, like lead generation, like an ebook, kind of like a giveaway, then yeah, you should definitely turn it into a paperback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, and if you're moving the, the ebooks are selling and you're moving paperbacks, they're selling, then yeah, why not do an audiobook? And if a lot of people are asking you for an audiobook, then yeah, why not?
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. So people can really just use that one thing that they've written and turn it into multiple pieces of content.
100%. And you can even turn it into a film as well. But that, I mean, it can be quite expensive to make it into a film, a lot more risks. But yeah, I mean, essentially that's your book's a manuscript.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is that what you've done with your movie, or is it a whole new?
The theme is very similar, but it's completely different. So with the anthology series, there are a series of little stories. There's the same with the film, but none of the content for the film is the same that were published in the books. So, yeah,
it's very
but it's a similar sort of concept. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing to see it. When will the film be out, do you think?
Well, I'm not 100% sure. There's just been so many different hurdles, especially with the pandemic and things, and getting access to the US. And so I look like we're just gonna film it here in Bali. There's a film studio in Ubud, and we'll film there and make it happen. So yeah, hopefully next year. It was going to be this year. But yeah, we just couldn't get things going last year. Yeah. But yeah,
amazing.
Hopefully next year. That's what we're working towards.
Yeah. Well, just a couple more quick questions. Do you have top 3 tips for our audience today?
Top three tips relating to something specific?
Just in general, being in a soul-aligned business.
Soul-aligned business. Okay. Yeah, I think was one of the things that we touched on earlier was, have an understanding of your strengths and delegate and outsource the tasks that aren't aligned with you.
Yeah.
So that would be one. 2, build a community. Make sure you start building a community and following, have an intricate understanding of the problems that you're solving. What business are you in? If you're in a service, if you're a soul-aligned entrepreneur, then you're in the business of people, really, and so, learning where are your people, and then go and hang out there. Yeah. And number 3 would be to be consistent. If you're consistent with the action steps that need to take place, then eventually, it's like chipping the stone. Eventually, it's going to crack.
Yeah.
And that would be my 3 tips.
Oh, amazing. So basically just little steps every day and you'll move forward.
Yeah. I think it's underachieve, on a daily basis, but consistently, but you're moving in that direction. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you don't have to just do everything like that.
Yeah.
Just little action steps, and just, be your own best friend.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the efforts that you're doing and reward yourself, and, have some positive self-talk and coach yourself through it,
Yeah. Okay. And then is there like a top or a number one resource you would recommend? So say a book or a specific podcast that you think people should listen to just in general, or if they're specifically getting into book publishing, is
Well, I
there?
think it's very helpful to have a coach. I've had worked with different coaches along the way, energetic coaches, mentors. I'm working with a mentor or a coach at the moment. I've got two coaches at the moment. One's like more of accountability partner, and the other one's a business coach. And so, yeah, having like outside expertise. In the beginning, I didn't so much hire other people, but I read books. And so reading books in the direction that you want to do. If it's in publishing and creating your own publishing business, then read books of other people that have already done it. And then, once you've got some momentum or you've got the resources, then, having a business coach is huge. Makes a big difference, and it'll help you be able to leverage your time and to expand and grow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, especially with getting clients, getting a consistent stream of clients, and having a system in place so you don't have to always be involved in every step of the way. And then once you have systems in place, then you can put people in those roles. You can create positions for people. Yeah. So you don't have to do it yourself. And so you can do it. It's great to be aligned with a business, but it's also great to have, other hobbies and interests. I do diving, before that it was surfing. And so, it's very important for me to get, I normally aim for 7 dives a week. And I'm pretty consistent with that. So yeah, it just really helps as a stress relief. It's really something social as well. Like I have a group of friends that I dive with. We catch up and chat. And so for me, what works for me is having like a balance. Like if I'm working too much, and it's all about growing and serving, then I can sort of get burned out. What helps fill my cup as well. And so for me, having hobbies and outlets other than my main passion and purpose.
Yeah.
So, allow yourself to have some fun.
I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing
Different times you just get too serious. Well, for me, I just catch myself just like, oh, you're getting a bit too serious, and I just allow myself to get grateful. Like, wow, like how much do I have to be grateful for?
Yeah.
Listen to some comedy or something, or anything that makes me laugh, or just crack myself up, or do a little funny dance or something that just breaks the state of that seriousness, because we're allowed to have fun.
Yeah. I feel like that's almost the most important point of the whole interview is remember to have fun.
We got it right at the end. Yeah. No, that's tip 4.
Make it fun. I love it.
Make it fun. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for connecting and having a chat today, John. It's been amazing.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Simone. I really appreciate your conscious questions. They're very deep, and thank you.
Yeah, well, just for you guys in the audience there, I'll definitely be linking to all of John's details. You'll be able to access him in a connected community way with his Facebook and Instagram and that sort of stuff, but also then business way as well if you wanted to get a book published or something like that. So I will have all of those links available in the comments and description of this video or audio if you're listening to the podcast version. So yeah, you'll definitely be able to connect with John. So thank you so much for your time. And I really look forward to keeping just in contact with you and watching your journey.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Simone. Yeah, looking forward to keeping in touch.